And let's bring in Jim Trusty, former federal prosecutor, get his thoughts on the early release of this, or the early reaction to the release of this, I should say. Jim, welcome. It's Friday afternoon, heading into the last week of summer as we get this drop. Your reaction to it and what you've heard so far.
Yeah, I mean, all of it's really intriguing to me. I mean, again, the big picture is we don't normally look in prosecutors' files if there's not a trial. You know, we kind of let the evidence play out after an indictment. We see what happens at a trial. Here we've got this kind of bizarro world, I think maybe fueled by special counsels where they write reports, where everyone feels like we're entitled because we care so much about Jeffrey Epstein to look at all the evidence and find out if there's other names. Well, the reason we don't share files, yeah, it's partly to protect victims, and in this case, young women that were molested, but we're also protecting people from essentially defamation or guilt by association when they've never had a chance to totally acquit themselves. So this whole world we're living in now where it's like, let's do an interview and then put it out for the world to review on a Friday is kind of odd to me. Now, the starting point was a pretty typical starting point for federal prosecutors, which is a proffered letter. It's not full immunity. It's basically saying, for our conversation today, Ms. Maxwell, as long as you're truthful with us, we'll never use any of your words against you in any sort of prosecution. Again, very unlikely that there's going to be a new prosecution of her. But that's kind of a typical thing. They call it Queen for the Day immunity. And that's what she received to get this conversation going in the first place. And, you know, it seems like a lot of it's probably going to be kind of just a little bit self-serving opinions. Like, it doesn't really matter what Ms. Maxwell thinks about whether Epstein killed himself, but she wants to opine about it.
So why do you think they decided to release this? As was just mentioned by David Spunt, the president was asked about this in the Oval Office when he was talking about FIFA and the upcoming events in 2026. And he said, well, I've asked Pam, the Attorney General, to put out whatever they can. And just going through this, you know, there are names in here that have, you know, to do with who her father did business with, you know, and you can easily imagine people reporting, oh, well, this name and that name are in the Epstein file. But this is in sort of the groundwork that they're laying as they begin speaking with her about who her father, Robert Maxwell, a famous British publisher who was involved in a lot of businesses. So there are names in here that have nothing to do with the period, you know, this is before she ever met Epstein. So I see what you're saying, James.
Yeah, I mean, that's troublesome, right? I mean, you know, there's people that really didn't do anything wrong that are suddenly going to be in the spotlight. And that's just a kind of a strange scenario that we're finding ourselves in. You know, as to why they released it, I mean, look, the grand jury materials, I think, were kind of properly protected by a judge who said, no, it's not enough just that the world's really excited and wants to know kind of scurrilous details about Epstein and Maxwell. The judge, I think, properly, you know, respected the statutory protections we have for grand jury materials. This one's kind of different. I mean, I almost wonder if the Deputy Attorney General basically talked to the attorneys and said, you know, my intention is to release this publicly, and maybe she'll get some form of credit for that. And so we have to kind of wait and see a little bit whether the jail transfer made anything or if that was just coincidental. And then there is a vehicle for reducing sentences for cooperation called Rule 35. Of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. It's conceivable that they'd say this was somehow very helpful and we're going to try to reduce your sentence. I'm not banking on that, but there is an actual mechanism they could use if they wanted to.
Well, we know that the families of the young women who were part of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial have spoken out very strongly, saying that they hope there is no leniency given to her. But we'll see if that happens or not. You know, it's interesting, at the beginning of this document, Jim, she talks a lot about the fact that she just wants to tell her story to the government. And she says all through this process, the government never interviewed me, never asked me any questions, and I've always wanted to tell them what I know.
Yeah, that's a two-way street, though. I mean, look, most of the time, particularly while Epstein was alive and pending a case, you know, it would have made a lot of sense for her attorneys to come to the government and say, hey, you know, she's in a position to help you out, and go down that route of being a cooperating defendant where you don't get a free pass, but you don't end up getting 20 years. You get some sort of reduction for cooperation. That didn't seem to happen on her end either. I mean, there are circumstances where as a prosecutor you say, I'm not going to make a deal with the devil to go after a demon. You know, I'm not going to cut slack to this person because they're at the high end. And she's definitely a partner of Jeffrey Epstein. But I think that if her attorneys had made overtures to potentially cooperate, she would have had that opportunity to tell the story. And, it didn't happen. I don't think she can quite blame the government for that.
Yeah, it also is coming out that she says that former President Clinton, she saw he was on the plane with Jeffrey Epstein. I think we knew that. She says she never saw him getting a massage on the plane. You think about how these things are going to be parsed and how carefully she may be phrasing some of these things, Jim?
Yeah, that's a red flag. I mean, it's funny when you talk about certain types of proffer sessions, when you meet with a cooperating defendant. I've had them with MS-13 members, and I'd rather almost have the shameless sociopath, somebody that'll sit there and tell you right to your face how they killed somebody and not really have any sense of dissembling or rationalization than somebody who's a little more sophisticated, like some of the white-collar type defendants. And the reality is she seems like she might be quite capable of rationalizing, dissembling, being very precise to the point of perhaps being deceptive. So in any of these circumstances where you're talking to somebody with an incentive to please the government like she has, you have to be really careful that she's not kind of playing you for a tune and telling you some stuff that's just a little too self-serving.
So in terms of the government's ability to change her situation, she was already moved from a rougher prison environment to something that is a little bit more moderate, a little bit more comfortable for her to live in, I guess. What could happen to her next? Given the fact that she was convicted by a jury, what's down the road here potentially?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's totally in the hands of the federal government. I mean, there's two options. Her attorney was kind of shooting for the stars and settling for the moon, saying we'd be glad to get a pardon from President Trump. I don't know if that's in the cards. I don't think she's a particularly attractive candidate for a pardon or a commutation. But that Rule 35 I mentioned is a vehicle that can be used to reward cooperation. It's just normally the cooperation has to be a little more substantial than just feeding the press. It has to be something that helps you build a case or helps you, develop new targets. And again, too early to know what's in this whole series of transcripts, but it's not grabbing me that that's a likely outcome that would normally be a justification for some sort of benefit for her to reduce the sentence.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like the question, and you just put your finger on it. If it isn't information that is useful for a coming prosecution or a coming legal process, and it's just sort of to put it out there, it's hard to see what the leverage is for her in that.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of discretion. The judge has to approve of any sort of motion like this. And they usually do. If a prosecutor says, hey, I know this person never testified, but they gave us some information that was helpful, gave us some leads, that usually will sell where a judge will consider a reduction. Maybe not to the extent of a reduction that the prosecutor asked for. But here we're just in this different territory of there is no pending case. We wanted to talk to her to kind of satiate the media beast and the people that are all dying to hear all these kind of, sexy details. And I don't know, doesn't grab me as something where she's necessarily going to be able to prevail upon Todd Blanche and company to give her a reduction in her sentence, even if that's entirely what drove her conversation. Yeah,
well, certainly her story has spilled out all over the place. There's about 6 or 8, I guess, audio tapes that have been released, and the entire transcripts of the conversation between Ghislaine Maxwell and Todd Blanche, and more attorneys on either side. You can see these headlines crossing on the bottom of our screen that are also found in this transcript. She said that President Trump was a gentleman in all respects. She said that she didn't remember seeing President Clinton on the island, although I reported earlier that she talked about him being on the plane. So all of these, as you say, Jim, sort of salacious details that will be gobbled up by the press as Ghislaine Maxwell finally gets the opportunity to tell her story. And it's very lengthy on the front end, I'll tell you. She goes into her whole psychology of her relationship with her father. And I guess there's some suggestion that maybe that, set her up for a strange relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and maybe that she's looking to build that as some sort of excuse for the things that she was convicted for. But we'll continue to dig in here. Jim, thank you very much. Good to have you with us today.
Yep. Good to see you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.